We turn with me to John chapter 11. And I'm going to, it's a long sketch, and I'm going to go ahead and read it. Sometimes we assume that the commentary or the sermon is going to be more interesting than the text itself, but I found the text is actually more interesting than the commentary. So I will read that story. John chapter 11. Now a certain man was ill, Lazarus of Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. Mary was the one who anointed the Lord with a perfume and wiped his feet with her hair. Her brother Lazarus was ill, so the sisters sent a message to Jesus, "Lord, he whom you love is ill." But when Jesus heard it, he said, "This illness does not lead to death. Rather, it is for God's glory, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it." Accordingly, though Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus, after having heard that Lazarus was ill, he stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was. Then after this, he said to the disciples, "Let us go to Judea again." The disciples said to him, "Rabbi, the Jews were just now trying to stone you, and are you going there again?" Jesus answered, Are there not 12 hours of daylight? Those who walk during the day do not stumble because they see the light of the world. But those who walk at night stumble because the light is not in them. After saying this, he told them, "Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I am going there to awaken him." The disciples said to him, "Lord, if he has fallen asleep, he will be all right." Jesus, however, had been speaking about his death, but they thought he was referring merely to sleep. Then Jesus told them plainly, "Lazarus is dead. For your sake, I am glad I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him." Thomas, who was called the twin, said to his fellow disciples, "Let us also go, that we may die with him." When Jesus arrived, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb 4 days. Now, Bethany was near Jerusalem, some 2 miles away, and many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to console them about their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him, while Mary stayed at home. Martha said to Jesus, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that God will give you whatever you ask of him." Jesus said to her, "Your brother will rise again." Martha said to him, "I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day." Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me, even though they die, will live. And everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this?" She said to him, "Yes, Lord. I believe that you're the Messiah, the Son of God, the one coming into the world." When she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary and told her privately, "The teacher is here and is calling for you." And when she heard it, she got up quickly and went to him. Now, Jesus had not yet come to the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. The Jews who were with her in the house consoling her, so Mary get up quickly and go out. They followed her because they thought that she was going to the tomb to weep there. When Mary came where Jesus was and saw him, she knelt at his feet and said to him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who came with her also weeping, he was greatly disturbed in spirit and deeply moved. He said, "Where have you laid him?" They said to him, "Lord, come and see." Jesus began to weep. So the Jews said, "See how he loved him?" But some of them said, "Could he who opened the eyes of the blind, have kept this man from dying?" Then Jesus, again greatly disturbed, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone was lying against it. Jesus said, "Take away the stone." Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, "Lord, already there is a stench because he has been dead 4 days." Jesus said to her, "Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone, and Jesus looked upward and said, "Father, I thank you for having heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I have said this for the sake of the crowd standing here, so that they may believe that you sent me." When he had said this, he cried with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." The dead man came out, his hands and feet bound with strips of cloth, and his face wrapped in a cloth. Jesus said to them, "Unbind him and let him go." The word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. A man named Lazarus is ill. Illness. You know what that's like: itchy throat, watery eyes, clammy skin, high fever, can't keep anything down. Lazarus is ill. Now, note this, Lazarus is not just some random patient. Lazarus is a friend of Jesus. Indeed, his sisters send a message to Jesus about his condition, and the message reads, "Lord, your friend is ill." Or another translation, "Lord, the one whom you love is ill." Lazarus and his 2 sisters, Mary and Martha, live in the village of Bethany. Bethany, we are told, is 2 miles east of Jerusalem. In our modern lingo, we might call Bethany a suburb of the city of Jerusalem. The village of Bethany. We, the readers of the Jesus story, have traveled to Bethany many a time with Jesus. And here's the thing, every time we've been to Bethany, something worth recording in the gospel happens. For instance, that day when Jesus was visiting Bethany, loads of people at Lazarus' house, which he shared with his 2 sisters, Mary and Martha. And in the middle of a God moment, when Jesus was teaching, there's banging and bashing and clanging from the kitchen. One of the sisters, Martha, appears out of the kitchen. She is sweating and she is furious. Her apron is splashed with who knows what, some kosher sauce. Wooden spoon in hand, she leaps and jumps over the guests sprawled before Rabbi Jesus, and she goes straight to Jesus. She does not ask Jesus to help her by bringing in one of those miracles of the 5,000. No, she does not ask Jesus to send one of those disciples, and I'm thinking Peter or Bartholomew, into the kitchen to help her. No, she comes to Jesus, and here, if I might paraphrase her, she says to Jesus, "How dare she," pointing to her sister, "how dare she tell her to get her royal self in the kitchen and help me get lunch ready? It will not make itself." It was all very intense. You should see the YouTube on Bethany. You see, in Bethany, there are no pretenses. Bethany is a real place with real people. Bethany can get emotionally messy. Bethany is so much like our families, our congregation, our beloved church. Bethany is made up of real people. You see, we are Bethany people. And then there was another time we went with Jesus to Bethany. That was the time when we went to Simon the leper's home. Now, poor old Simon the leper, he had been healed and everything, but he had been a leper for such a long time. People still called him Simon the leper, even after he was healed. He would be walking down the market strong and everything, and people would say, "Hi, Simon the leper." You know, it's amazing how our past gets stuck. And when we even turn a new page, people still call us by our past. So I'm going to change this a little and call him Simon the no longer a leper. They were at his house, reclined at table. And remember that time, that's when a woman walks in, she comes into man's space, she is carrying the kind of alabaster bottle that everyone saw and recognized. This is basically her pension. These are her life savings bottled up. And the perfume is not for herself. It is not for some wedding day for her. No, this money, she would sell the bottle and the contents so that the wealthy would enjoy the perfume. And in turn, she would take that money and buy the basics of life. She walked into the room. And it might be that the finance committee member sitting there, Judas, were thinking of the stewardship drive, the capital campaign thing, and they perhaps thought this was the first generous donation. But this woman, she came in and she smashed the bottle. The contents wasted. The perfume everywhere, splashed on the floor, on the clothes of those nearby, on their sandals, most of it landing on Jesus' feet. And the fumes filled every nostril and pore in the room. Even the ants and the spiders got dizzy on the stuff. Nobody escaped the scent. And the lady, Lord have mercy, she had forgotten to bring a towel with her. She unraveled her hair and began wiping Jesus' feet with her hair. It was so embarrassing. Some looked away, some froze. And I think the embarrassment of the moment explains why the Gospels differ on who this woman was. Some say it was some crazy prostitute lady. Another Gospel say it was Mary Magdalene. Another one says it was Mary, the sister of Martha and Lazarus. We don't know who this was. We just know that it happened in Bethany. Bethany. Bethany, real people, yes. Bethany is also a place where extravagance happens. Extravagance to the point of embarrassment happens in Bethany. Oh, I wish I had that kind of congregation where such extravagant and embarrassment happens in church. But not in my church. We have a bulletin and everything that happens in church is scripted. And we have people known as ushers or bouncers who make sure that no one does anything that is too extravagant. Even people who get a bit excited in their worship and begin raising their hands, we keep an eye on them so that they don't embarrass everybody else with their extravagant worship and praise. Oh, Bethany. Bethany is extravagant with its worship of Jesus, pouring the most expensive of perfume on his feet and wiping his feet with her hair. Doesn't care about being embarrassed. We've been to Bethany. There was another time we came to Bethany. And remember, we were on our way from Bethany, leaving Bethany, going on to ministry to Jerusalem, and Jesus had forgotten to have breakfast. I think Mary had been in charge of breakfast that day. And the Son of God was hungry, and he saw a fig tree in leaf. And he strolled over to the tree. He poked around for figs, and there were no figs. And it's not the fig tree's fault, I want you to know. That fig tree was doing what fig trees do. Leaves in the spring, figs in the summer. And Jesus, carpenter from up north, he thought Bethany fig trees should be different from other fig trees. That they should have figs all the time. After all, this is Bethany. Oh, that fig tree did not know what hit it. It got cursed in heaven's glossolalia. The next day, it was dead down to its roots. Because you see, Bethany produces figs, not based on some calendar. Bethany's fig trees are not seasonal. Bethany bears fruit in season and out of season. Oh, you better watch out now, because you and I are invited to be Bethany fig trees. And it doesn't matter where we are appointed, we are always on having figs. It doesn't matter that really good sermon you're saving for your big appointment. This is the time to preach it in that little bitty church in the middle of nowhere. You are expected to have figs, whether in season or out of season, whether it's a perfect match, appointment or not, whether the people love you or not, whether you think they hear you or not, whether you think you're connecting or not. The season is every season. There is figs in Bethany's fig trees. A certain man, we are told, Lazarus of Bethany, is ill. And the sisters are taking care of him. And he's getting worse. Worse, even the sisters text Jesus. And they say, Lord, your friend is ill. Another translation, Lord, the one you love is ill. What a message. The message surprises me because I think the sisters should know better. I mean, we've been walking around with Jesus, and we know that no one comes to Jesus with this kind of, Lord, your friend is ill. Because Jesus always asks the question, what is it you want me to do for you? Jesus has no presumptions, no second guessing. What is it you want me to do for you? I'm referring to Mark chapter 10. If you have your Bible, turn quickly with me there so we can look at that story quickly. A healing story, Mark 10:46. Following, they came to Jericho, and as he and his disciples and a large crowd were leaving Jericho, Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus, a blind beggar, was sitting by the roadside. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout out and say, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. Many sternly ordered him to be quiet, but he cried out even more loudly, Son of David, have mercy on me. Jesus stood still and said, call him here. And they called the blind man, saying to him, take heart, get up, he is calling you. So throwing off his cloak, he sprang up and came to Jesus. Then Jesus said to him, what do you want me to do for you? I thought it was very obvious what Bartimaeus needed. Or is it just me? If a blind man is standing in front of you, it seems obvious. But this question that Jesus asks over and over again, what do you want me to do for you? I could throw example after example. The man ill by the pool for 38 years, the same question, what is it you want me to do for you? Bartimaeus is my favorite healing story, and I'll tell you why. Bartimaeus sitting there by the road calling out, Jesus, Son of David, using this title that could get everybody killed. You call him Rabbi and nobody will blink an eye. Call him Jesus, Son of Man, nobody will blink an eye. But Son of David, now that is really throwing the whole thing into the political arena in Jericho, of all places. And no wonder they warn him sternly to be quiet. But the louder he gets, and Jesus stands still. I'd like to see how that looks like. That must look like just in Joshua when the sun stood still. And when he called him, call him. I love when Bartimaeus jumps up, throwing off his cloak. He springs up, throwing up his cloak. You just love. And he's a beggar. He has nothing else under there. We're talking skin. Springing up. I told my congregation that we were doing a short Bible study, and someone said, he must have had at least socks on. And we began talking about what does it mean to come before Jesus uncloaked, and what is the cloak that we wear to the pride that we have. And Bartimaeus standing there before Jesus, and Jesus asking him, what do you want me to do for you? And this, I like the senior hires, when they heard that question, they said, probably the crowd was saying, cloak, cloak, cloak. And what do you want me to do for you? That's such a terrible question. What is it that you want me to do for you? That question is actually an invitation to our healing, inviting us to name it, because part of our healing is naming it. What is it you want to do me to do for you? Inviting us to articulate our deepest yearning, our hope, to risk speaking it out loud. And that's difficult, because I'm afraid if I say what it is I need and it doesn't come to fruition, I'm going to be disappointed. So I'd rather not say it. What is it you want me to do for you? Do you want to be healed? Every 4 years or so, I get a malaria bout, and I get hot and cold for days on end, and I sweat and I'm cold. And that's when my congregation prays for me the hardest. They pray, they have prayer vigil. And if Jesus came and asked me, do you want to be healed of that? That means I have to give up the prayer vigil every 4 years. Maybe not. Maybe not. Do you want to be healed from your addiction? Whole new friends? Whole new... Maybe not. Maybe not. Do you want to be healed from your dysfunction? Maybe not. Because I have to learn a whole new way of relationship. I have to be vulnerable. Maybe not. you get healed and the whole family dynamics at the table on Christmas and Thanksgiving change. Maybe not. I'm beginning to think Weight Watchers is actually very, very dangerous. Four couples now, one member of the couple has lost weight. And suddenly, divorce is in the air. Suddenly, it's staying unwell and unhealthy. That was the glue that seemed to keep them together. What do you want me to do for you? It's an invitation. It is an invitation.